Welcome to the first instalment of the battle reviews for the PAX Pokemon League Australia. What are we calling ourselves? Draft League?
Oh, is that what we are? Cool.
I don't know. We call ourselves the Hamsterdance, and I have no idea.
That's the weirdest tournament name ever.
The PAX Pokemon League Draft League Hamsterdance. Well, that's gonna stick.
I know.
Anyway, let's get on track here. Welcome, boys and girls. I'm Uncle Kaka, and with me today we have the Dezzles.
Hey people, how you doing?
Now, I'm going to apologise in advance. This is a little bit of a slapdash hazard, travesty of a mess we've created here. Fern gave us a bit of a panic today with the little bit of information. He's a little unwell. So we've kind of patched something together. I've been busy installing things, and Dezzles has been helping me out here to get this show on the road, so we can give you guys a bit of a breakdown of the battles that have happened in the first week of our Hamsterdance Draft PAX Pokemon League Battle League.
Look, I'm just a little grateful that Fern isn't feeling unwell, because I'm battling him this week, and I'm hoping it impairs his performance. Just saying.
Oh, well, I have to admit, after last week's battle, I'm a little more confident than I will be for this week, so we will see what happens. But I'm sure Fern will give you a run for his money, that's for sure.
Oh, I certainly hope so.
Anyway, so the point of this is we're going to actually run through a couple of the battles here. We've actually got all four of the battles on video. Thank you very much to our lovely video capture expert. And Des has been busy recording things to get him online so we can actually have a bit of a chat and see how they all went down. So, without further ado, shall we get started on this one, Des?
Yeah, definitely. Which one do you want to start with?
Fantastic. Well, I am, as apparently appearing on screen as I'm displaying all my lovely drives and bits and pieces here, have the battle between yourself and Beaver, I believe.
Oh, yeah, let's do it. Mr. Shine.
Fantastic.
Let's do this.
Alright, so let's get this show on the road here. Just skip through to about where we're about to get started. I think it's about the 15 or so second mark there. Oh, hang on. There we go. Sorry, boys and girls, this is literally my first time using this bit of software, so pardon the haphazard mess.
We panicked. A lot.
Anyway,
Okay, let's get started.
So do you want to have a bit of a chat about your choice of team going into this one?
Oh, let's face it, most of my team, my two big sweepers are weak to poison-type Pokemon, so something that was really important to me was to be able to deal with that Mega Beedrill, because that thing is fast and it could do a lot of damage to pretty much everything on my team. So my main Pokemon, my two main sweepers were going to be the Azumarill dealing out the physical damage, and my Mega Altaria dealing out special damage, I think, as well as using a Ninetales to deal just residual damage to anything that they couldn't take out. The problem was that Mega Beedrill was capable of, well, just destroying everything. So that was a problem for me, and a lot of my choices in team were pretty much designed to deal with that one.
Yeah, the Mega Beedrill is definitely lightning fast and hits like a machine gun, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get this one started and see how things went down.
So my big choice was, how do you start? I decided to start out with one of my sweepers because I figured that we were going to see someone setting up. So I wanted to just deal as much damage here as I possibly could in the first few moments, not give the Galvantula much time to set up. And unfortunately, with the Focus Sash, it did get off, I think, 2 attacks. Thankfully, because I'm running the Assault Vest, which a lot of people have commented is a little unusual, I do manage to nicely survive that attack. The paralysis. I was not happy about the paralysis.
That was a bit of hacks, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I had the Aqua Jet, so I outsped. Oh, Aqua Tail, whichever one's the faster one. So I got my priority. The Poliwrath also was a bit of a concern. I wanted to save just wanted to save my Azumarill for some basically death fodder later on. And that's why Senior Dirt comes out, because he's a massive, he's a wall. He'll just sit there and take it.
Yeah, from what I've seen of some of the other leagues, the Slowbro really is one of the sought-after Pokemon in the draft, because it does a lot of tanking from what I've seen.
Yeah. I've seen really interesting. It's one of the few Pokemon I know that can just absolutely just stand up against a Mega Kangaskhan and take the beating and fight back.
I guess it's one of the differences in the league draft we've got here that we don't actually have the Mega Kangas in there.
Yeah, yeah, I'm kind of grateful for that. This Zartu caused me so much trouble throughout throughout because it has the magic bounce. So I drop spikes and they'd bounce back at me. I'd drop a thunder wave and it would hit me. It was just terribly inconvenient. Like this thing as well as the Chandelure. So with one of my main Pokemon being a like one of my big sweepers, especially Ninetales, Under the Sun just deals damage left, right, and center. But there's a Chandelure on the team, and I can't handle that. And a lot of it made like I expected that the Chandelure would be coming in against my Ninetales a lot of the time. So you can see here, I think I'm death foddering Rade at the moment because I didn't want to switch in something and take some damage that I might need that HP later on. So I just fodded off Rade to give it a little bit of help back. And I think this is when I bring in Kiri, my Ninetales, for the first time. So I set up Kiri. I played her really poorly throughout most of this battle because I brought her in with Dark Pulse as one of her moves, specifically to deal with the Chandelure, and practically forgot to use it every time because the Chandelure was the smart switch in. I should have just, every time I switched in Kiri, been just Dark Pulsing left, right, and center. But I couldn't. Because she's Choice Scarf, so she outspeeds the Mega Beedrill. It was really just some poor plays on my behalf right there.
It did strike me as that it almost seemed like Beaver was actually reading your moves quite well. You did actually pick your switches and get that magic bounce going quite well. Do you think he's going to go for the same sort of technique with the Zartu in future battles?
Well, I will not be at all surprised to see that Zartu coming out, especially because I do have two Pokemon that are both capable of dropping spikes, rocks, and the toxic spikes. So anything with magic bounce is really quite a challenge for my team to deal with because it means I need to be really good with my predictions as well. And I'm certainly next time I battle him, because I have another battle with him in 3 weeks, I think it is, I'm going to be taking that into account. The Chandelure will, I expect, definitely come out as well because it walls my team, as well as the Mega Beedrill. Those three, I don't want to have to deal with them again, but I can almost guarantee they're going to be there.
And as we can see, the Zartu just keeps coming back out there, doesn't it? And eating straight into your status effects.
Yeah, it's an absolute monstrosity. And you're going to see me once again. I'm going to bring out Kiri. I'm probably going to use the flamethrower again, knowing full well. And then, like, the moment I'm going to click, I'm going to be like, oh, he's going to switch out into Chandelure. Wait, did he not switch out on this one? I can't remember. Kiri had her energy. Oh, no, because I switched her in, didn't I? But yeah, we should see. Oh, no, it might be the Aggron coming in for this particular one. Yeah, that's right, because the Aggron eats up the Dark Pulse.
Yes, he's kind of got you covered both ways. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. It's a 50-50 whether he's actually going to do it or not.
Yeah, I'd set up a real great plan for just dealing with everything. And then just left, right, and center, Beaver was predicting all of them. It was an absolute pain. And here you go, I'm about to try and set up spikes. Look at that. Right there. Just.
He's gone and predicted right there again.
He has.
This guy is literally throwing curveballs. You know, you're throwing him. You're throwing from your quarterback straight to get to a touchdown, and he comes in there and he sweeps it out and just takes it out from underneath you.
Yeah, I try and get rid of my rocks, and he sends in the Chandelure so I can't rapid spin. Like, he played an absolutely incredible battle, and it was, I think, one poor read on his behalf that actually gave me the chance to win. But we'll get to that when we get there, or went out the poor play. Because you see at the moment Kiri's down to, I think, 32 health, so she can't take many more hits. I don't know if she can survive coming in against the spikes at all. But at this point, I predicted the Aggron switch in. This was one of my few really good calls. So you had the Chandelure switched out into the Aggron, expecting the Dark Pulse. I'm pretty sure I predicted that that particular one. Oh, and then, he switches back out into the Chandelure and causes me havoc again. Just left, right, and center, just the perfect plays, usually predicting what I'm going to do. I had to sack off so many of my Pokemon just to kind of get the edge in. I'd set up my team well. I was just playing it so poorly.
And sometimes it happens. It's just like you've got that Collingwood team just going out there and trying to get everywhere, and unfortunately, sometimes Geelong just gets there.
Oh yeah, so here I am. I've brought in Yuki Yuna, who's my Mega Altaria. So this one in particular. She's a physical sweeper. Sorry, I thought she was. I brought in the special one, but no, she's a physical sweeper. This is where the battle gets really interesting because the sensible Pokemon to bring out against the Mega Altaria is the Beedrill, which is, of course, a shiny Pokemon. Now, this Beedrill, it's going to cause problems for my team because it outspeeds everything with the exception, I think, of Kiri because she's Choice Scarf. So he goes for the Drill Run here, which is a really smart choice of move because if you're running a Fairy-type Pokemon, you don't leave it in against the Mega Beedrill. A Toxic Jab deals 160% damage straight off the mark. So he was predicting me the Fortress switch, which is the smart play for me because it resists, it completely ignores the Poison Jab, which would have destroyed my Altaria. So he predicted the Fortress, and I was just prepared to sack off my Altaria at that point.
I don't think I would have actually gone for the Drill Run hit there. I definitely would have gone for the Poison Jab. Because, look, if it forces you out, it forces you out. But in the off chance that it's not going to force you out, and I honestly didn't think you were going to switch out at that particular point. I definitely think that the Poison Jab would have been definitely the play that I would have made in that particular case.
I think the concern was me bringing in the Fortress, so I'd get a free switch and no damage whatsoever because the Steel typing. And then I'd have the opportunity to go for either a Rapid Spin, which I'm now going to take advantage of here to get rid of the spike so I can bring in Kiri again. Or it could have let me set up an Explosion. There were so many risks with letting me get that free switch in him. Whereas it would have dealt a lot of damage to anyone but my Mega.
The Fortress, though, obviously is a Steel type and therefore resists poison, but given it's a Grass type, doesn't it actually then still have some weakness to it?
Well, I could be wrong. I'll just quickly bring it up. I could be playing poorly. That's always possible. Oh, it's Steel Bug.
Oh, Steel Bug. I thought it was Steel Grass. There you go.
No, that's the Ferrothorn.
Ah, right.
So yeah, it's completely immune to the poison attacks, which is why he didn't go with the Poison Jab. Didn't want me getting that free switch in. Which it didn't even occur to me to do at the time, which was probably poor planning on my part. But because I've got the Mega Beedrill out of the way, I got the spikes out of the way, I am free to bring in Kiri, and the sun's up, and I can pretty much just flamethrower the rest of the team because Yuki Yuna used the Earthquake to take out the Chandelure, and that's what really secured me the victory. But realistically speaking, that Poison Jab there, that one prediction probably won me the battle. The fact that I was willing to sacrifice a Pokemon because I knew that Fortress could probably survive at least one hit, and could then proceed to just spin out and then let Kiri deal with the rest of the team. But it was mainly that Chandelure that caused so much trouble for me because it was immune to one of my sweeping attacks.
And the Natu itself was also really throwing it because he had that switch in there as well. So
yeah,
do you think he's going to try that same trilogy again? And the others, obviously, we're going to probably see the Natu again. The Chandelure, obviously, it's great to get a stopping Rapid Spin as well to deal with those sort of things. But do you think we're going to see that exact same trilogy in the next round?
I expect certainly those three will probably show up, but you've got to shuffle things up in the second battle, or at least come up with some new tricks. So I'm expecting the Smeagol will probably come out now that he's seen a bit of what my strategy is, So the Smeagol's kind of terrifying, and I know that there are some builds that can absolutely decimate other teams that I'm taking into account while planning my next round with Beaver. But it was a fun battle. It's got to be one of the most intense battles I've had in a very long time.
What about for yourself? What do you think? Who do you think your MVP of the match was?
Oh, well, I'm tempted to say Kiri just because she did kind of pull out in the end and just defeat the rest of the team. But I think I'm going to go with Yuki Yuna just because if she hadn't have taken out that Chandelure, we wouldn't have stood a chance. That Chandelure was the one thing that was really stopping me from getting Kiri in there and just sweeping the team. So, yeah, I'd call Altaria MVP any day on that battle because without that earthquake, we wouldn't have won.
Fantastic. Well, how do you feel about going to the next battle? I've got Nova versus Llama, and that was in the same pool I'm playing in.
Yes.
So this is going to be the Milotics versus the Cloysters here to use team names. Let's bring their battle online and have a look.
Well, I really like the teams on these battles. There's a lot of Pokemon you don't really see here competitively too often. It's like you see Arcanine around, you see the Gallade, who I believe is the Mega on this team, but a lot of them, the Frostlass, you don't really see. You don't see Jolteons around very often. The Granbull, who uses Granbull?
Well, I think Granbull is something that does turn up in maybe not the OU or the VGC leagues, but I see it fairly frequently, or I hear about it fairly frequently in some of the Smogon leagues there. I don't know a huge amount about the Mandibuzz, but I mean Excadrills, I hear that's pretty good in a lot of the other draft leagues. It's one of the top ones, top pokes, and obviously with the availability of fairy types, especially the bulk of them, because a lot of them are very quite bulky, aren't they? The Krogunk there, or was it Toxicroak? I can never remember which one is which.
Toxicroak.
Toxicroak, fair enough, yep. That's obviously in there, and that's going to really be a big sticky point for that Granbull there.
Yes. Any time you have something that can just do serious damage, you're in a bit of problem. The other big interesting lineup here is probably the Ludicolo versus the Gastrodon, because I think Ludicolo can actually hit for 4 times effective damage against the Gastrodon with a grass attack.
It would be, yeah, because the Gastrodon being a water ground type, that was actually one of the things I had a real struggle with at the 2015 PAXOS Pokemon League, when people finally figured out that Quagsire is 4 times weak against grass type moves. It was like, yeah, okay, I've got plenty of ice to kill your shit. Things. I'm sure Fan will be able to bleep that out for you later.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mega Venusaurs having thick fat and Giga Drains are really, really dangerous for Quagsires. But I mean, obviously there's a Mega Medicham there. You've got the Excadrill and the Granbull and Jolteons. I mean, they're fragile. They're very fragile, but they hit like a tank. They really do.
Yes, that is the big thing, especially because they're one of the really brilliant Volt Switches, I think. They're one of the best Volt Switches that you see out there that aren't your pseudo-legendaries or your legendaries. They just get in there, they deal damage, they get out, and it's because I think they're super fast as well. But I don't have to check.
They are the fastest of the evolutions. The other thing is they also have the ability to have Bolt Beam if you have Hidden Power Ice on them. Which means they have perfect neutral coverage. So if they're scarfed or if they're specced, you've got a real dangerous thing on your hands there.
That's worth noting when I get to battling one of these two. Shall we get the battle started?
Let's get this one rolling. Okay, it's a little longer on this one.
Yeah, my bad. Let me know when you do it. But yeah, I really enjoyed watching this battle when it was up, because you do get a lot of the switching going on.
That's one of the things I've definitely seen so far in watching the draft league battles, is that there's a lot of switch tactics going on, because you've just got to get that edge. If you don't have that edge, you've got a problem.
Yeah.
And I definitely saw that opening with Jolteon as a scouting type guy. That's a great use of the Jolteon there.
Oh,
Um,
it is, but the Arcanine is played perfectly here. Because you see a Jolteon, you know it's just going to, like, Volt Switch out 90% of the time. So getting the Arcanine to do the Morning Sun right there,
this is very
that's
true.
just that's just a play. So the Arcanine's going to switch out because you don't want one against the Gastron because you don't know who it's going to hit. Like a water attack, you're going to see a ground like an earthquake. You don't know. The Scald is real lucky. It's a shame. It's a shame for Nova that they didn't get the Scald because that would have caused the burn on the Scald because that would have caused so much trouble for Gallade.
It would have definitely weakened that strike there, but with the 4 times weakness, the Mega, and there's just the power of the Gallade, I still think the Gastrodon was definitely going down there. And that was like watching a rugby scrum under of the Australian front line against the New Zealand All Blacks. It was going down, and it was going down hard.
I didn't actually know that Gallade could get Leaf Storm. That's really interesting to know. But the paralysis right there, the Thunder Wave against the Gallade, once more, it's a very crippling move for a Pokemon that's there to kind of hit fast and hit hard.
And of course, with the expected switch into the poison type there,
Oh
which
yes,
is not really healthy at all for the Granbull.
no, it's not. But I think this hits for neutral damage because the Toxicroak's fighting poison, is it?
I believe it is, yes. So neutral damage, and it really doesn't take much of a hit there. Well, it doesn't have much left after that hit, is what I'm going to say.
So switch out on the Granbull's the smart move because I don't know whether the Granbull is capable of outspeeding a Toxicroak. I don't think it is. And the Mandibuzz just kind of eats up that attack.
So maybe it's a bad pick of the switch there. I mean, if you got the poison type in, would you leave the Granbull in there? Obviously not. But switching into the Mandibuzz.
Outspeed.
Well, is the Mandibuzz going to outspeed? I believe it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks to. And it's going to go for Brave Bird. I think the idea is that the Granbull is going. It sounds like the Granbull is going to be one of the main sweepers on the team. So taking the health hit there to make sure you take down one of the biggest risks is always worth it.
Just, I was wondering, in terms of the play with the Toxicroak, if you know that the Granbull's there and you know it's likely to switch, given the obviously poison type, would you try to predict the switch and go for the fighting move, not knowing what it's going to switch into?
Well, probably not. I mean, it was a safe move. I mean, worst case scenario, you poison something.
It's going to do some damage, that's for sure.
Yeah, and if you can't make if you can't work out exactly how they're going to switch, then it's worth making just the safe play on the off chance that they don't.
So we've got a bit of a trade going on here.
Unfortunately, the poor Medicham is taking a lot of damage from that Frost Lass.
It has. I mean, that Frost Breath does critical hits. Critical hit does to the 1/5 multiplier, putting it into the same sort of power bracket as Ice Beam. Ice Beam base power 90, the Frost Breath base power 60. The main difference is Ice Beam has 100% hit, whereas the Frost Breath is only 90%.
Ah. I love seeing a Frou-Frou here. I don't know why Frou-Frou is. I don't like it. It's not a Pokemon I particularly care for. But it is kind of nice.
I don't even know what the Frou-Frou does. So that's one that's going to throw me for a 6 for sure.
Well, this one did Cotton Guard and then disappeared. So yeah, I expect we're going to see it sweeping left, right, and center because no one's going to know what to do with it. That's the really interesting thing about these sorts of tournaments where you have your tiers that you have to pick from, and then you've got limited number of points as to how you can spend your last few Pokemon is, that you start seeing some really interesting choices, like the Frou-Frous and the Bidoofs and that. Like, who picks Bidoof? Seriously.
We'll get into a very interesting conversation about that one when we get to that particular battle. In terms of picks and things, I was definitely torn between 2 or 3 different loadouts of different things I wanted to do, and you might even see those things in the next season. So I've got a few ideas about how to definitely throw some really, really fun spitballs and curveballs.
Oh, that's gonna hurt. Paralysis on an Arcanine.
Yeah, the thing is a monster, but they're both intimidators as well, which means that whoever gets in last is definitely at a huge advantage. And if he's got the paralysis on there, that ground ball can just sit there and not really worried about it.
That's quite true. I'm not sure how much damage this Earthquake can do. Okay, it does a lot. It's just shy of the kill. 5 HP off. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, with the leftovers there, which is quite nasty. It's a lucky Quick Claw move, though.
Yeah. It's on an item that I've really used much myself. What is the how often does it activate?
It's a very low percentage. I think it's like maybe 10% of the time or something like that.
I just saw it activating 2 out of 3 turns, so...
I'd really have to check it out. I don't know the exact numbers of that one there.
I might just quickly look that up because, I can. Oh, that poor Gallade. That was brutal. Okay, 20% chance and ignores the effects of Trick Room and Stall.
Quite handy, and obviously ignores the effects of paralysis as well.
Yes, or at least only can activate if the paralysis doesn't take effect, because you still may go first and then get paralyzed, which would just be unfortunate, really.
The Ludicolo here, I understand Ludicolos are fairly bulky in terms of what they do, and they've got the drain here as well.
So we've got the lead seeding happening, which is really bad for the Grandorc. Lead seed is always a pain, really. But this Ludicolo is finally going to see the death of the Grandorc. So that's going to be one of the big sweepers, because we've seen this Grandorc just knocking Pokemon out left, right, and center here.
Absolutely. It is strong, and it hits like a tank. That Play Rough, it's basically another version of Azumarill, isn't it?
Only not as cute.
Well, depends on your definition of cute.
It's true. That Ludicolo was not allowing a play Brave Bird. Those people are probably wrong.
Oh, what can I say?
So that's going to see Nova winning the battle with the Brave Bird off the Mandibuzz, so it's quite an impressive battle. I quite enjoyed watching that battle. I don't know about you.
It was definitely exciting to watch, that's for sure. And I believe we have just gone back to your battle there in my playlist. So let me just stop that one there and switch this back around. We have 2 more battles we'd like to cover today. We've got myself versus the Duke. So that is my Adelaide Crobats facing the mighty Brunswick Bidoofs. So talking about Bidoof, we actually have an example of it coming up in the next battle here, if we're up to that particular one there. So let's get that show on the road.
So having a look at this battle, whose perspective am I viewing from yours? So this is an interesting setup. You're seeing a few more of the Pokemon that you commonly see in VGC. You're seeing your Sableyes, your Charizards, your Clefables. There's a Rotom, which is unusual because I think it's a normal Rotom, is it? Yeah.
Yes, I actually am running a normal Rotom. I'm just going to reset my window here because it is not liking this. There we go. No, we're good actually. Sorry about that. So yeah, we do have the normal Rotom. I would have liked to have had a different flavour of Rotom, but I was kind of running low on points. I actually got the first draft pick in the league, so the thing for me was I had to pick very carefully and see what you guys would do in response to my pick before it came back around. So you guys actually got double pick before I got my second pick. And with that one, so it was very much a high baiting structure for me, so I was going for tier 1s and tier 1s. So I was very limited in what I could go for in my free picks right towards the end there. But you're right, we do definitely have some tier 1 stuff here. We've got the Clefable, we've got the Mega Charizard Y, we've got the Sableye, which is a brutal killing machine.
I'm just a little bit surprised that the Brunswick Bidoofs didn't bring their Dragonite.
I don't think it would have been a very good game for them if they had have brought their Dragonite. As you can see here, there is a Porygon Z. It's Porygon 2, which is notorious for being able to also have neutral coverage as Bolt Beam.
Oh, yeah.
And I also did take the Glaceon, so I was fairly heavy available in anti-Dragon tech and anti-flying tech as well, with plenty of ice and fairy tech. So the Dragonite, I think, would have been very fatal for him.
That's true, having a bit of a look at your Pokemon. So tell me a bit about your choices while the battle gets started.
Well, I honestly have to admit I was mostly worried about this particular team. The Mega Sableye scares the living daylights out of me. It's one of the things that actually gave me a lot of trouble in the playoff battles for the champions position of the PAX Pokemon League last year. And a lot of the practice matches I did in Showdown, I kept running into Mega Sableyes, and it just threw me for a 6 a lot of the time. Because the damn thing has the Magic Guard there as well. So trying to set up on that is difficult at best. And it's also a Calm Minder, so it sets up, it's got its tricks, and it hits quite hard. Given that, my plan of attack here was to lead with the Breloom and hopefully go into a Spore mode and see what I could shut down and just shoot before it actually let me get away with things. So let's actually get this one started and see how we actually kicked off here. I did actually lead with the Breloom, and I really wasn't sure what I was going to see the lead here, half expecting the Sableye because of tricks and things, and I figured if I could shut that down, the rest of the team probably wasn't too worried about. I know how to deal with Quagsires. I'm very, very familiar with that from actually using them. But there were quite a number of Pokemon on this team that I just was not familiar with. And the Emberpom lead, I had no idea what this one was. I couldn't even remember the typings of this damn thing. So, yeah, the Spore lead was unfortunately not effective. And having the sudden thought that this thing, it's probably normal. I had this inkling that it just didn't look like it had an elemental type to it. So I figured, because I'm running a Technician Breloom, the Mark Punch is probably my best bet to kill the thing. And turns out, great guess on that one there. At which point, of course, we saw the Sableye coming out and trying what I was expecting to be its opening move.
It walled you left, right, and centre.
It did, yeah. The Breloom just was not going to get anywhere with this particular job, which was frustrating. So I was hoping to really get some leverage out of that there. If that thing killed one or two things, great. It's doing excellent. But unfortunately, yeah, the Breloom just was going to die horribly. And at this particular point, given the Sableye's Calm Minding, I had to decide before I started this thing, which build of Clefable I was going to run. There's two major ways to run it. You can either run it as an unaware Pokemon, or you can run it as Magic Guard. The trick being, knowing that this Mega Sableye here, do I hedge that and Heal Bell and Cleric my way through what the Sableye can do, or knowing that he's got the Quagsire, do I play the Unaware War and bet that I can probably hit harder than it can hit? Because I know Quagsires, they can build their defences very high, but if you can't set them up, they're quite vulnerable as well. So I ended up going with the Unaware Clefable. So I wasn't too worried about the burn, and fortunately it was a really good pick for me. This is like having, I suppose, Gary Ablett from back in the day, going out there and doing all the wizardry on the Geelong team and working all the crazy things. Or I can't think of a better thing. I don't follow AFL. Or I don't know.
I don't follow sports. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm just using sports analogies. People will figure this out. This is like Pokemon sports, Z sports. We'll go with that. But we've got a fantastic little Bidoof here doing all the moody tricks, which is pretty cool. But the thing with this is a Bidoof to an unaware Clefable is pretty much free setup time. I can sit here all day. I can calm mine up to level 6 if I really want to waste my time doing it. But yeah, I don't need to calm mine more than a couple of times, and this thing should just die. The more it's moody, it's just literally wasting its time. That's the thing against unaware. So we started dropping Moonblasts. And this is where things got a little bit bad.
The Halucha.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to deal a lot of damage if it gets the hit off.
It's a scary potential machine. I've seen a couple of Ubers battles recently where the Halucha itself has swept 6-0.
Oh, wow.
And if you can get this thing setting up, it is really, really good. Luckily for me, I didn't die.
Yes. That is lucky. Probably could have used another Calm Mind. Wait, no, Calm Mind doesn't do defense.
No, it doesn't. So, I think I did pick quite well with my EV spread there, that it gave me just enough leverage to get through.
Of course, the response is to bring out another Pokemon that's really good at setting up and stalling.
Absolutely. This, I think, was the biggest opportunity for me. I was already set up as the Clefable, so I didn't really need to be spending my time running Calm Minds and things. Given that I suspected this particular Quagsire was also unaware, changes to my stats are irrelevant. And I don't really think that Duke realised that the Clefable was also unaware, because he's setting this up and he's getting quite greedy with it. I was crunching the numbers. I'm sitting here thinking, okay, this Moonblast is hitting for about 40% damage. And I know he's got leftovers, which is healing about 10%. At this rate, 3 clean hits without a recover should kill the Quagsire.
Supposing you don't get a crit.
Well, supposing I don't get a crit, that's for sure. In terms of that, I should, in theory, win the damage race. Now, Duke did tell me after our battle that he really regretted getting greedy there, because he got a bit greedy with the stockpile and actually went for that run and recover. I honestly would have actually gone, if I was trying to set the Quagsire up, stockpile 1, and if my hit points is still above 75%, that's where I hit the recover first. Sorry, if it's below 70%, I hit the recover. But in this case, he let it get down too far, and that was game over for the Quagsire. Unfortunately, the Doughblade was a really good counter to the Clefable there, and I'm actually quite surprised I didn't see it sooner.
It's quite possible he was just hoping to get his Quagsire set up and deal out the damage without and basically set up while taking out your Pokemon, but that just didn't happen.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the Clefable is faster than the Quagsire. The Quagsire is quite slow, as a lot of water ground types are. But unfortunately, with the Doughblade, it wasn't. We had a bit of a war situation here again with the Porygon 2, but it wasn't the right pick. If I really wanted to take that Doughblade out, I really should have put something else in. The Charizard probably be my best option, or tried something tricky with the Rotom. Glaceon, it wouldn't have really done much. So the Charizard definitely would have been a much better pick than the Porygon 2 in this particular case. But given we had this sort of stall situation going at this particular point, Duke's gone back to the Sableye, which is basically his last 2 Pokemon. And we've gone back to the whole setup scenario where we're trying to get the Sableye set up enough to just start one-shotting me, which would have hurt like hell. And I keep forgetting, of course, this thing has Magic Bounce as well. So
I saw that with the Toxic earlier.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain we're going to see this Sableye repeatedly, given A, it's Mega, and B, Magic Bounce is going to be a very big apex for his team.
Yes, he is. Whereas when I get around to going up against Duke, I don't necessarily expect to see the Sableye come out. Especially because, one of my main sweepers just will one-shot a Mega Sableye, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Let's just check that quickly.
So the frustrating thing about the Sableye is, as we saw earlier in this particular battle, its Ghost type makes it immune to the fighting moves of the Breloom.
But we do see you did. It was you that won that battle, right? I got a little distracted looking up who does the most damage.
Yeah, I did actually end up taking the victory in this one here. Unfortunately, Duke found that given he was down to his last 2 and I still had 6 up, and I was able to very effectively wall him in, that the time was right to throw in the towel. It was just basically, he was backed right into a corner. There was no way out.
Which is unfortunate.
But in terms of MVP for that particular match for me, the Clefable just did so much damage, taking 3 Pokemon out itself, and it's still going. It was just the mightiest thing on my team there. I didn't even have to bring out the Charizard or the Glaceon or even the Rotom there. So very, very, very one-sided in that particular case.
I don't think I've met a Clefable that I haven't hated.
Believe you me, I hate them all too. The exploding little beep. I still have memories, very, very unfond memories from playing Red and Blue and wandering through Mount Moon, and every second battle, if it's not a Zubat, it's a Clefairy. And every time, Badoom! I swear that was an 80% explode rate.
Oh, so I'm just having a look at our last battle quickly, Duffy versus Fern.
Let me bring that one up here, because I've got a whole host of bits and pieces here, and what have we got going?
So, some interesting picks on this team. We have a Pikachu, Godslayer 101, and on Fern's team, why you would pick I suppose Eviolite maybe?
Quite possibly. Pikachu is a very fast Pokemon for what it does, and it does have a nice array of moves and tricks. So potentially a good Volt Switch Scout as well.
But it goes up, there's up against it, there's things like a Cofagrius, a Cofagrigus, whatever it is. There's a Snorlax, which you can imagine is just going to be a pain coming up against them. So a lot of these normal types are complete pains. We're going to have the Mega Aggron on Professor Fern's side, which it'll be a little bit at risk against the Volcarona. This one's going to be an interesting battle just because there's no one particular person who has a significant typing advantage over the other, I don't think.
Typing advantage, yeah. I don't think there is a huge typing advantage over things, but Guthy's Houndooms, I believe his team is, they do have a massive speed advantage. So when you look at it, he's got the Dugtrio, which in
yes.
Red and Blue was very notorious for being the second fastest Pokemon in general battling. Obviously, the Electro being fastest, but Dugtrio just having that sheer crazy speed that it can pull out. The Volcarona being able to quiver dance its way into very, very ridiculously high speed and power. And the Excelgor, I believe it is, also has quite good speed as well.
That's quite true.
So he goes from very much a low speed to the extremes of low speed with the Snorlax and the Cofagrigus to the very high speed, whereas our lovely Professor Fern's more of a mid-range speed, low to mid-range speed, with the Aggron being quite slow, the Gigalith and the Blastoise not being much faster, the Magmortar being relatively mid-range as well, with the Noiverns and the Pikachu being on the higher end of his speed there.
You do see the Cofagrigus though; it can be absolutely decimating to a team if it's running Mummy.
Absolutely, and it's got quite a fairly good depth of its move range as well, with the ability to have grass types and Dark and Ghost.
Hmm. So I'm going to hit the play button now from like 46.
Alright, we just zoom forward a little bit here for our
Yep.
viewers at home. There we go.
And they. See, this is one of the battles where I was really unsure looking at looking at the team as what do you even start with half these times? But we are going to see the Pikachu starting up, as you mentioned. Great Volt Switch. It's going to jump in, do a little bit of damage, and get out of there before this Cofragrigus can even do anything. And we're going to see the Magmortar come out.
And that thing, it's a strong special attacker. And it's got a Lucky Burner, which is fantastic there as well, which is obviously triggered the berry.
I believe this is Citrus.
It is, yes. Yep. The Cofragrigus, though, I didn't see that as an open. Would you have opened with anything else?
That's the thing, looking at the team preview, I'm not sure what else you would start with.
Because, I mean, all these speed types are very much wanting to have the setup there. So maybe the Cofragrigus was pretty much the only option in this particular case.
To me, it kind of was hoping to come across some open against a more physical attacker, or maybe one or two of the moves were they were good setup moves, but just not appropriate to use in the battle. But we are going to see Big Blue, the Snorlax, come out and take a Focus Blast, which is going to do over 50% damage. Downside, with a stockpile coming up against it, that means that you're not quite going to hit your 50% against the thing with your Focus Blast anymore. So while that started off looking like a 2-hit KO, it's just going to be just that little bit shy, which is a real shame, especially because Resto Chesto, everyone's favourite Snorlax build.
Absolutely, and given it's now got the stockpile up, we can quite happily just stockpile a couple of times more, and you're just going to be blinking off it at that particular point.
Yeah. So he's going to go for another Focus Blast. Does, I think, what, about 33%-ish? Maybe a little higher?
I think it's closer to about 40% there.
Yep. But Big Blue is going to be taking the Rocky Helmet damage. I do love Rocky Helmet on a Pokemon, especially when it's coming up against physical sweepers. Rocky Helmet, in my experience, actually a great way to deal with Mega Kangaskhan.
Because it gets the double hit and then the double bite back, doesn't it?
Yeah. And if you've got a strong physical wall, it's not a fun time for anyone. So Big Blue's going to switch out at this point, which is a bit of a shame because it means it's going to lose the stockpiles that were built up. And seriously, who'd have thought Pikachu almost one shot a Doug Trio that only held on thanks to a Focus Sash? Who'd have called that?
I definitely wouldn't have. But I mean, that knockoff was just enormous.
I
Absolutely
know.
Enormous. So good call on the Pikachu there. That's definitely. I mean, I'm thinking at this particular point for Fern, that's almost MVP level. That's just insane.
Oh yeah.
The Snorlax though here, given that it was off its setup there, I'm actually surprised he actually brought it back in. Given that it had plenty of hit points to survive a Pikachu hit, didn't have any item left, so it's not vulnerable to the knockoff, and it was semi-set up. I mean, surprised the Snorlax actually came back in before. And as we've just seen there, that's part of the problem with bringing a Snorlax that's set up back in, because obviously it's going to be not set up anymore.
But I think the idea was switch it out into something that could definitely take the attack and use it as death fodder later on. I hate doing it just that little bit. I always feel just that little bit guilty keeping my Pokemon around as death fodder. But sometimes it is an incredibly useful strategy because it's the closest you're going to get to a free switch in a lot of the time. So that might have just been the plan, is for the death fodder for a more frail Pokemon.
We've just seen the exchange of a couple of switches here, which has brought the Volcarona in. And finished the Volcarona off. That Noivern was quite unexpected.
Oh yeah. Because I mean, Volcarona can take a lot, but a hurricane's just not gonna happen.
Exactly, it's going to end a lot of things. Given the Volcarona is really a special attacking glass cannon.
Yes. I like running them on fire teams, or sun teams. Sorry. You get those things. You get them a little bit set up under the sun, and just murders everything, especially in doubles under the sun. And I think it's heat wave hits both opponents.
Yeah.
Ooh, fun times I had.
So you ever see the Mega Aggron coming out there?
Yes. Thunderbolt not going to do too much damage. I don't. Oh, it's about half. Not about that. But you know, with the defense increase, defense and special defense increase from going Mega, not quite going to get the kill without one hefty crit. The heavy slam not going to be enough to take out one.
Though I have to admit, I'm a little surprised that the Electros wasn't running flamethrower.
Yeah, it is a bit odd come to think of it. Really seeing Iceberg come in, that's the trio, which is an interesting switch in, really.
And the speed is going to definitely cause a lot of pain for that flying type dragon. That's, but it is going to do the kill there, which is as expected. I mean, one hit point left. It's going down.
But you know, against the paralysis, it did a good chunk of damage.
And the Noiverns is not going to survive that Thunderbolt. There's no way I can do that at this particular point. So, gets him a free switch in there, and we get to see.
And well, the Thunderbolt's a crit.
Yeah, it's good. It's going down.
I'm not looking forward to coming up against this Blastoise either. I'm pretty sure that I'll come up against it because, you know, Ninetales.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it's not the Mega Blastoise. That would be a bit more of a problem for me. But Blastoise on its own still takes a fair chunk of damage. I think I might have to try and work out a Pokemon I can run Toxic on.
It is quite bulky, that's for sure. But it depends what he's going to run it with. He's running Dragon Pulse there, is he?
Yes. Yes. But, you know, one of my main hitters is going to be immune to Dragon Pulse, so that shouldn't be a problem.
Exactly. I don't expect it to be an issue for the Clefable in the second, the back leg of the tournament rounds there. The Clefable should just soak that Blastoise up and not worry about it at all.
So there we go. We see, oh god, name's escaping me. I did have the team name in my head like 30 seconds ago. We see Guthrie defeat.
Yeah. So in terms of this particular battle here, obviously it's been quite a solid match there. Who would you say was the MVP overall for the match here?
Well, I'm kind of impressed with the Dog Trio. It got down to 1 HP and then proceeded to at least take one Pokemon out. Dealt some good damage to the Noiva. It did good work for something that was on very shaky legs.
I'd have to back the Pikachu myself. Just for something I did not expect it to go the yards, and it took something down. It caused some serious damage. It really threw a bit of a spanner in the works there. So I think that Pikachu is actually surprisingly dangerous for what it is.
Say, how is this Pikachu set up? I'm just having a look at some stuff, like some calculations. And a knockoff on a normal Pikachu is like 68 to 80% on a Dog Trio. And that's an uninvested Dog Trio. And it wasn't choice, was it?
I don't know, so I'm not sure the speed ratios on that. Obviously, I have to check, but that Pikachu, I believe, did go first.
I guess the light. Oh no, I was thinking choice ban, but even with the light ball, it's not gonna. I really want to know how that Pikachu's set up. Just saying.
Maybe we can squeeze out a Fern next time if we can get him on the air.
Oh, we can try, but you might want to keep that up his sleeve.
You might indeed. Alright, well that's been some absolutely fantastic battles there. I've enjoyed watching those with you, mate.
Been a
so,
pleasure.
who do we have coming up next week?
Oh, okay, let me just bring up the thingy quickly. Next week's battles, we are going to see, you're going to be versing Llama. It's the Adelaide Crobats versus the Perth Coast Cloysters. I'm going to be battling Fern, so the North Sydney Ninetales versus the North Queensland Noiverns, so North v North. Or North
Northern
v
Derby. Nice Northern Derby.
We got the Brunswick Bidoofs versus the Blue Mountains Milotics with Duck 700 versus Nova Cascade, and the Southern Swarm versus the Perth Hills Houndooms. Sorry, let's rewind that. It's the Melbourne
Missingno.
Yes, the Melbourne Missingnos. Sorry, there's been a team name change since we wrote up the form. So yeah, the Melbourne Missingnos versus the the Perth Hills Houndooms, Stephen versus Guthrie. I'm very excited for this battle this week, and I'm hoping to take advantage of Fern's illness to give me my second win. Just quickly before we go, if there will be live battle commentary for the battles that I'm doing for the North Sydney Ninetales on my personal channel, which is youtube.com/Dezzles. You can check it out there, as well as some extra little tidbits I expect coming out throughout the tournament, which aren't as directly related to the PAX Pokemon League.
Fantastic, and of course we'll be getting the battles and the overall video up onto the league channel. I believe Fern is getting that sorted out for us as soon as we can get the files out to him. So that should be up, I'd estimate, probably sometime in the next week. And stay tuned for future battle videos, and we'll be getting things out hopefully on a weekly basis there. We've got another 9 weeks of battling before we get to the final series. So the way the pods are split up, if we haven't already explained that, there is between the 8 of us, we've got Pod A and Pod B. Each of the pods will face their own pod twice, so I'll be taking on, as I said, the Cloysters next week, and then I'll have the Milotics the week after that. Then I'll be going back to taking on the Brunswick Bidoofs and Cloysters and Milotics again. So the other teams doing similar sort of things in their own pods there. Then we'll do a pod switch, and we'll have 4 more battles against one member of each of the other pods before we go into the final series. So yeah, stay tuned. Of course, keep an eye on the channel. There'll be plenty of content going up, not just from us, but all the other contributors to the streams and the league there as well, across all of the PAX leagues. And we're looking forward to seeing you at the various PAXs. And just if you want to give us any comments or anything, shout us out or jump onto the PAX Pokemon League forums, paxpokemonleague.net. You've got a link to the forums there. And we're looking to look forward to meeting you online, and cheer us on, cheer us on.
Support the North Sydney Ninetales. We're awesome.
I'm sure we can do that. We did a few more supporters there. Alright, that's all for us this week, boys and girls. Thanks again for tuning in, and we will see you guys and girls next week.
Bye.